All right, welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Coronado's weekly Wednesday meeting for June 7th. And as I always tell everyone, please refrain from using the facility's Wi-Fi as it pulls from what we need for the tech equipment. So June for Rotary is Fellowship Month, and I think our club does that really well. So I want to welcome all of our members, all of our guests, and I want to welcome all the members and guests that are joining us on Zoom today. So as we always start our meetings, if you would please rise for invocation, the inspirational invocation and pledge. And here comes Amy Stewart, who's going to do that for us.
To start with the prop here, right? Tomorrow is World Ocean Day. One ocean, one planet. The short clip I'm about to show you, the short clips are taken by my daughter Dani in Saipan, Guam, Ponape, and Palau. The women singing are outrigger canoe paddlers. Their song is about gratitude and love for the ocean, their culture, their team, and each other. In the spirit of Rotary, please share in their prayer.
Thank you, Amy. That was special. Okay, so visiting Rotarians and guests, here comes past President Dan Moore.
Thank you, President Luann. Yeah, we're lucky. We have two people found us down here, including our old pal who traded in his preschool for a casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gary Voss. And winning the Pilgrimage Award, a distiller, bourbon, New York City, number 6, club number 6. Please welcome Sean Jacob. Sean. I practiced this and I still screwed it up. Yeah. Welcome. Now we need guests of Rotarians starting on my left, your right.
President Luann, fellow Rotarians, one of our guests today is Jamie Cosson, who is the Executive Director of Camps for YMCA.
President Luann and fellow Rotarians, proud to introduce my guest, my son, Tony Bernetti.
President Luann and fellow Rotarians, I have a number of guests today. My lovely wife, Sarah, my daughter, Zoe, who graduates from CHS next week. And I had to invite 3 people to clap for me today. So I have 3 Navy buddies, Brian King, Al Schwayhat, Paul Sargent, all 3 Navy physicians, Navy captains, who are either retired soon or will be retiring soon. Thank you, guys.
And then fellow Rotarians and guests, I have a guest, our Fire Chief, Jason Summers, who's going to become an honorary member in just a little bit.
Luann. And that's Rotarians. I'd like to introduce my special guest, Johnny Cushman.
Oh, wait. Past presidency.
And my special guest, our special guest, our favorite lion for a little longer, Fred Eckert. Right here, he's going to be inducted today.
No. Got, I have a special guest. Over here, Dave Campbell, codenamed Sue. That it? No, how about you, Tom? Okay. Right. Put a fork in this, we're done.
Thank you, Dan. And then what I always do is have our Red Badgers that are with us today stand up. And I always ask that if you don't know them, please introduce yourself to them and get to know them. So I think today we have John Jacobson over here. Then we have Joe Malloy right here that always says our tech stuff. Jerry Brown is here somewhere. There's Jerry. Georgia Farrell. St. Barbara's right there. And I'm totally ignoring him over to my right. And Arlene Inch, I didn't see you behind the post, and Arlene Inch. Okay, if we can have the announcement slide. Okay, our first thing on the announcement is going to be the June social, which is tomorrow. And that is 5:30 to 7:30. It is at Carol McClellan's house at 728 Margarita. And it's going to be a special social tomorrow. Everybody can come. We're going to honor Ron Bobian at that social. And Vicky Bobian and both their sons, Lane and Brady, are going to be there also. So please try to attend that. And as I always say, please bring an adult beverage and an appetizer and your reusable cup. So next we have the beach cleanup, which is Saturday, June 10th. Meet at Isabella and Ocean at 7:45. Next, we have the lawn bowling competition, Rotary versus the Optimist. That is also Saturday on the 10th at 12:30 at Spreckles Center. And in a few minutes, past President Susan Pop is going to tell us a little bit more about that. Flags on the Avenue. We have 2 this month. And Wednesday, June 14th is Flag Day. Monday, June 19th is Juneteenth. And they go up at 7 a.m. They go down at 6 p.m. And I wanted everybody to know that, as you know, the entire police shift, morning shift, joined our group on Memorial Day. And we sent a thank you card to commend all those police to Chief K. And I spoke to him, and he really was he was taken back, and I told him how much we were on what they did, that we really appreciated. So next is Low Tide Ride and Stride. It's Saturday, June 24th. You can still sign up to participate, run, walk, ride your bike, get your neighbors, get your friends, get your family. And you can still donate to this. As you know, it's on the table where the money goes to 2 really good organizations, 2 Wounded Warrior and 1 organization for first responders. So we wanted also to say, this is an opportunity. It's an all hands on deck for volunteering. If you're a new member, if you're a Red Badger and you've never done this before, we do need more volunteers. So please see Paul Deadline or one of the chair people, John Duncan, for that. But again, this is all hands on deck. We need people to sign up and help. And then the Coronado Rotary Installation Recognition Dinner is Thursday, June 29th. Here, it's on the Sun Lawn. If you have never been to this, it's really a good ending to the Rotary year and a start of a new year. And we also announced Rotarian of the Year. So it's a lot of fun. And we have a lot of people that show up for that. So you can sign up now if you go to the calendar, and I think Jamie has sent that out before. So next, if we can go to lawn bowling, Past President Susan Hall.
Hello, everyone. I'm the older, more mature, most of the time, version of Natalie. Bailey. And I have to read this as she has written it. Natalie asked me to make this announcement with as much excitement and enthusiasm as she would. She was a cheerleader. I was not. The Coronado Rotary Lawn Bowling team has been hard at work practicing once last night and getting ready for this weekend's annual Rotary versus Optimist Lawn Bowling Tournament. We hope to win back the championship from the Optimist Club. We can't do that without a little Rotary team spirit. Everyone is invited and welcome to come down to the Lawn Bowling Center to cheer the team on this Saturday, June 10th, starting at 12:30. There will be a cash bar, snacks, and you can bring your lawn chairs too. Our team is made up of myself, Heidi Bergner, Tim Cusick, our ringer, Sandy Brower, our other ringer, John Matthews, Paul Plum, and our famous Dan Core, and maybe his wife too. We could really use one or two more people. So, and see you on Saturday. Yeah, we wish we had Bill.
All right, so that's something that we can all get together and cheer them on. And then I do want to add also on June 10th in the morning, besides the beach cleanup, the district is having the anti-trafficking task force on in Coronado. So I think most of us know where that's located, but that's not something that we give out at the Safe House. If you want to join in, that's from 8 to 12 or 8 to 10 or 11. Please let me know. There's a few of us that are going, and if you'd like to be part of that, just let me know because we need to let them know the names. Okay, so update on our 2023-24 dues. So if you look on the website to be able to pay for the dues, you will see that it shows $350, which is our yearly dues. The month of June, if you pay it, and Jamie, if I'm wrong, $325. Right, okay, $325. But in the month of June, if you want to get the $25 reduction, you can't do it on the website. You either have to send Jamie a check in the mail or get a hold of her to charge your credit card. And then for the family membership, one in a family, it's $140, and that stays the same. That's what we do. Okay. You good?
Marvin, please stop muting. Sorry, you have a problem.
I know that could be a fine, right? It keeps going. I think $25. Or you can hear me, that just cost $25.
Hello.
No, you might have something to say now. Okay, then the only other thing I want to say is do not forget donation pantry at the IB neighborhood. I see Ray sitting there with a smile, so that's fine. Yeah. So anyway, if you can donate, don't forget they need our help with food down there at the pantry. So help on that. Then I want to show the slide from the IBAR meeting that we had last week. The bell rang when most people left. And guess who of anybody that put their phone on the bar was Jamie. After she sent, she's the one that sent us out all the rules again, and again. So the only thing is, thank goodness, Jamie, there was not hardly that many people there. So she was lucky on that one. And I do want to say several things. I want to thank Sheriff Doug and all the people that brought everybody in. I want to thank the greeters. And then Jamie, you need to come up real quick. Jamie worked really, really, really hard to get us there, and it was so good. So thank you. I know. Of course, we don't know if it's gonna happen again, but it was a lot of fun. Also, I wanted to let everybody know that the video, that birthday video that we made for District Governor Chuck, we sent it on Saturday and he was very thankful. It made his day. As you know, he's in the hospital, so he was really thankful about that. Okay, so next, can we show the CCAT slide, CCAP? So Monday, we had our first Citizens Casualty Awareness Training with about, I think we had 9 Rotarians that trained. And there's 2 slides showing that, and we have Chief Summers here too. I want to thank all the trainers, and they're all medical people in the healthcare field from our club, and Chief Summers that put this all together. And it's so important, and I'm going to be announcing it more in the meetings as we come along, how you sign up. There's also going to be emergency preparedness class that's also going to be given. And Chief Summers is the one that presents that. And that's his specialty too, that he does that. And that's probably for 20 people. The other classes for 8. But I just want to say it turned out really well. And we'll just be hearing more about it in the future. It's an ongoing thing. We are lucky that not only does our club support this, but the city does, the fire department, the police department, and Sharp Coronado Hospital. So this would be something that we should all be very proud of. Next, I want to call up John Jacobson, our Red Badger. He is going to do an announcement for the strain cleanup that happened last Saturday, and then he'll do his Rotary Minute for his Red Badge requirements.
Thank you, President and fellow Rotarians and guests. All right. The Committee to Protect the Environment celebrated a rainy National Children's Day Saturday. We're picking up a bunch of information. Up for the Rotary Minute. As members of Rotary, we have a shared responsibility to manage. So if we look at this as Americans, actually,
Thank you, Sean. Well done. Okay, next I'd like to call up Mike Wywood, who is our Community Service Director. We have several checks to get out.
President Luann, fellow Rotarians and guests, First, I'd like to call up Rotarian Georgia Farrell. Georgia, I'd like to announce that our club approved a $1,500 donation to Safe Harbor.
These funds are gonna go specifically to the middle school program. We have a lunchtime program, wellness Wednesday, with the CMS at. And there's a lot of kids in the middle school that are really struggling. Suicide rates for second thing causes death. So the middle schools are real focus for us, making sure the kids are connected. So this particular program, we have games and staff that are there, and we're really looking for kids who aren't already involved in club, sport, or something like that, to really bring them in. Sometimes teachers bring them to us or counselors bring them to us. We're there on a regular basis so that we can build relationships. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call up Jamie Cosson, who is Executive Director of Camps for YMCA. So we have traditionally supported Camp Surf. And of course, Rotarian Zayan Thompson, who's on Zoom with us tonight, has been the advocate for that. Jamie, I'd like to present this check for $2,500 to Camp Surf. And then if you could tell us a little bit about how you intend to.
Thanks so much. One of the critical parts of our mission as a Y is to provide opportunities for all children to attend our camps. And we kind of call it leveling the playing field. And so these dollars will definitely go towards providing scholarships for children in our community for YMCA Camp Surf, so they can experience all the amazing things that we do. Mentorship, building confidence, relationships, all the great activities. And also want to just tell my appreciation of this long-term support of this club, but also for the folks who showed up to the work day we had recently. Really appreciate your support on that as well. Thank you.
Okay, so next, if we'd like to have Todd Little come on up, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Discover Coronado.
Thank you, Luann. I'm gonna probably need to take the mic out here so I can see the screen. I appreciate the invitation to update on Discover Coronado. Hopefully I haven't messed up your microphone doing that. I apologize. Stand by, folks. I want to recognize a few people. We're a sponsor, of course, Flow Tide Stride Ride. I want to recognize a few people that have helped us become a sponsor. John Duncan, of course, brought this to our attention, and Kent, of course, has done a wonderful job at helping us learn more about this particular event. The fact that it benefits 3 different military-based organizations is really icing on the cake. It fits in line with what we typically do at Discover Coronado when it comes to community partnerships, right? If you'll advance the slide. We do a number of things throughout the community for a number of reasons. We sponsor things such as the art banners that line Orange Avenue. And we do that because we want to make sure that Coronado's history and culture is recognized through these banners. Before long, Free Summer Shuttle will return. That's an initiative that we've sponsored now for coming up on, I think it's 9 years now. And we do that because it lessens demand for parking spaces downtown. And also it spreads customers throughout the entire community. Not everybody stays in the village. It helps boost customers down to the ferry landing. Most recently, we sponsored the holiday tree that was in Rotary Park. That came to us from fellow Rotarian Rena Clancy. She brought that to our attention. That, of course, was designed to amplify the holiday spirit downtown. When people are happy, what do? They stay put. When they stay put, they spend money. So this was a local shopping initiative that Discover Coronado sponsored. And again, if you don't know who Discover Coronado is, that's okay, because our marketing really goes out to meeting planners and conventionaires. It's really not targeted towards the residents. We are a destination marketing association, and we work for the city of Coronado, for the city council specifically. And it's our job to bring conventions to Coronado in the off season. We don't need any help in summer. Summer's perfectly fine on its own. So it's really our work begins in September. And what we do is we bring conventions to town because they benefit more than just one group. They benefit many stakeholders. Again, off seasons is when we really need the occupancy of the hotels. That's when we need the businesses to have support from clients and customers. So these conventioners, they come to town and then they obviously walk to the local shops and stores. So you think about those little shops that are close to the hotels. Discover Coronado helps create jobs. This past year, 950 jobs at Coronado came from the convention business. That's about 11% of the jobs at Coronado are directly related to conventions. We're very proud of that. Obviously, it builds tax base too. The TOT, the transient occupancy tax, that's important because it pays for fire trucks. It pays for all kinds of things like libraries, our city staff, and even community grants that go to organizations such as Safe Harbor. It all makes sense. Conventions benefit many different people. Next slide. And I'll wrap up for you. You've got a million things going on here. So who pays for Discover Coronado? I get that a lot. People wondering if it's your tax dollars going towards this event. The answer is no. It actually is from hotel guests. Well, when hotel guests stay at one of our 4 hotels, they pay an assessment. So long story short is you don't pay for the work at Discover Coronado, but you benefit from things that come from it. And last year was a very successful year. We had an economic impact of $164 million across the country. So it's a good investment, an investment that you don't pay for, but you benefit from as well. So Discover Coronado is a model that was established in 2010 from City Council. Mike Wywoody was on council at that time. Thank you, Mike. It's a business model that works, and I appreciate the opportunity to update you.
Thank you, Todd. That sounds great. Okay, next, it's with great pleasure. If I bring up Chief Jason Summers, our fire chief for Coronado. I'm making him an honorary member simply because if you remember last September, he came to our club at the Dell and we were talking, we had the police department come and talk on active shooters. And Jason came and explained to us what EMS does, the fire department does during active shooters, if that should ever happen. And he had with him a bleed out kit. And after it was over, he told all of us, you know what? I will train anybody anytime on that. And so we took you up on that. So we figured, you know what? This town, as we all know, is very unique. Community loves this town. We band together to make sure that our lifestyle stays the way it is, and knowing that something could happen at any time. It could be a natural disaster. It could be any kind of accident. So we figured, you know what, this is something that this town can train on. So we put together a program on the bleed out kits, on chest compressions, and on AEDs. And we did our first, as I said before, the first class of the Rotarians. So Jason is very special to our town, to Rotary. And I can't tell you how lucky we are to have him as our fire chief. So what I wanted to do was read his bio first. So Chief Summers is a 17-year veteran of the Coronado Fire Department with 22 years of emergency service experience. He previously served as Coronado's division chief overseeing fire prevention and emergency management. Hazard mitigation. I hate to say, I know it's running up. But okay. I'll go back. Hazard mitigation planning, fire safety inspection program, public education, and life safety awareness training. He also managed the city's emergency medical services throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. In the last 12 years, Chief Summers has responded to numerous disasters across the states of California, Washington, Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona on a FEMA management team. So it is with great honor as president of Coronado Rotary Club to induct Coronado Fire Chief Jason Summers as an honorary member of our club. Honorary membership is the highest distinction that a Rotary Club can bestow. Rotarians believe that community and worldwide fellowship and peace can be achieved when Rotarians unite under the banner of service. Chief Summers, you have distinguished yourself by meritorious service to our community, and you are a special friend of Rotary for your support of Rotary's causes. So well deserved, I can say. So thank you again. Oh, no, did I give you? Oh, I don't want to give you that one. But this has everything in it. As a honorary member, you do get everything. You just can't be on the board and you can't vote. So thank you again. Okay, next, and I love doing this again. Past President Suzanne Pop, come on up for induction. I almost gave him Fred's packet.
Chief, no offense, but we're really excited about this next part. Come on up, Fred. President Luann, Board of Directors, Rotarians, and guests. The induction of a new member is a special opportunity to welcome people into our club, and nothing could be more special than having our lion, our favorite lion, join. Fred Eckert. He's sponsored by Suzanne Manuel, past president Suzanne Manuel, and his classification is Title Insurance Leadership. Fred, we welcome you to this global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world. Club thanks you for your willingness to share the values of service and fellowship in Rotary. New member for our club means new ideas, new enthusiasm, and a greater fellowship, which leads to greater service. Fred, one of your duties in this club is service. This means participation in any of our 60+ committees. This means saying yes. Yes. When you're asked to serve, you might be asked to join a committee. You might be asked to chair a committee, You might be asked to lead this wonderful organization one day. Starting to prime people. It is with great pleasure that on behalf of President Luann, members of our Rotary Club, to induct Fred Eckert into our club. Everyone please rise and give this guy a big round of applause.
Congratulations, Fred. Finally, we can say finally.
Wait, I thought I was done. Okay, Fred, tell us why. What inspired you to join our club?
So this woman, as you all know, had the privilege of participating in beach cleanup, flags on the avenue, schools, low tide ride and stride for many years. And I saw all the smiles of all of you and how satisfied I felt. So I wanted to be a part of it.
Thank you, Fred. And one more thing, can you just tell us 3 interests and or hobbies that you have so that other people can have talking points for you? I know you won't have a problem.
So I like biking, and I like dancing with Suzanne, and I like exercise. I do that, and playing cards. We play a lot of cards.
Thank you, Fred. Welcome.
All right, welcome, Fred. We're so glad to have you. So next, if Jean Marie Vaughn wants to come up to introduce our speaker.
Well, I'm honored to be able to introduce the speaker today. He's actually a member of our club. He has a very good background. He spent 10 years as a service warfare officer for going to uniformed services versus followed by a culinary critical care fellowship at Walter Reed. And I think with the guests here today, if anybody gets sick, we're really, really in good shape. Most notably, he assumed the command of medical treatments. Mercy, and it's him that belonged to the Mercy, and my daughter-in-law actually served on the Mercy last summer and said he was the best boss she's ever had. He directed their efforts in the Pacific Partnership, which is the largest multinational health relationship in the Pacific. And now retired from the Navy, he is still very involved and just returned from Project Recover, a mission to Palau to repatriate remains of 2. Captain Walker.
Thank you, Jean Marie. Very honored to be back here. Very, So I have a brief presentation. My wife was wondering where I was for three weeks in March, going into April, so I finally get to explain to her what I did last summer. Or last spring, I should say. So this is a mission to the jungles of Palau to find Pacific War MIA. And I just want to point out that this is a motley crew that I joined. This is us in the jungle. And the next several slides will describe. So the mission that we had was essentially a needle in a haystack kind of mission. This is a F4U Corsair plane from BMF 121, a Marine Corps aviator that had gone down in January of 1945. He had launched out of Honolulu to attack some Japanese positions on the island of Babelgov and was shot down. And this team, this 10-member team that was assembled in January of this year to go find his remains since they've been lost for some years. We used archival records for project recovers, investigators, we used satellite imagery, we used archaeological data and technical expertise. And our mission was essentially to do a grid search pattern in a very dense mangrove. Next slide. So you really don't understand why we're doing what we're doing if you don't understand what Project Recovered is. This is the group that I joined in 2018. It was founded by this man that you see in this photo named Dr. Pat Scannon. It's his passion project that he started in 1993. He was in Palau on a different kind of mission, which is a story in and of itself, but had some free time and had a local guide, take him around to show him some of the sites. And he came across this wing. If you can't see it, it doesn't project very well, but this is a wing of a B-24. And he knew that because he built models as a young boy, exactly what that was. And what he said was he was inspired. He had a moment of passion. He said at that moment, I forgot about the aluminum merit and of that wing. What replaced was something terrible that had happened at the site. Just this passion in his chest. And that started his 30-year mission that continues to this day of finding MIAs. He eventually did find the MIA or the group of MIAs that belonged to that wing. But let me just tell you a little bit about Project Recover. So Pat and very passionate folks all happen to be either scuba divers or folks that jump out of planes doing crazy stuff. And they started on their self-funded missions to find MIAs, Palau specifically. Over the course of 30 years, it's expanded from Palau to over 30 countries. And they found over 60 different wrecks. They've repatriated 17 MIAs. And there's still over 100 MIAs among these 60 wrecks in 20 different countries that have been waiting to be found. And in 2014, they actually joined with Scripps here in San Diego and University of Delaware. They have to use the technology that they have. They've been using essentially analog technology. Now they're going to the digital age using side scanning, sonar, things of that nature that has just magnified their ability. Next slide. The other question that you really have to answer is why do they have all this passion to go after these missing in action? And I think one of our founding members, Flip Colmer, said it best. He said, to honor the sacrifices everyone made before us for the freedoms we enjoy today, to let our warriors and families know that we belong for others. This is about finding these missing in action. And I actually had a colleague of mine recently who said, I don't quite get it. 70 years past World War II, haven't folks forgotten by this time, or hasn't that passion dissipated? And I can tell you that it has not. And just some numbers. So there are over 80,000 MIAs that our country has. 72,000 of them were from World War II, and over half of them have recovered. There's 5 million families associated with those 80,000. And if you aren't convinced yet about why we should go after these folks, these missing in action, I would encourage you to go to this website here. Just type in Project Recover into Google, go to their website. There's actually a movie called What Remains that just came out over the past few years. Just won the #1 documentary at the GI Film Festival a couple weeks ago. And it focuses on the families, the closure that they get from their loved ones. Next slide, please. Okay, so back to our mission. This is our group. It took about 22 hours to get to Palau. It's not an easy place to get to. It's a 10-member team. They're formed, as I said, in January of this year, and everybody brought something to this team. So the team was comprised of Pat Scannon, Dr. Scannon, and our CEO, Derek Abbey. We also had satellite imagery experts. We had a forensic anthropologist, so had we found bones, for example, we could identify these actual bones. We had an archaeologist. We had one Italian brigadier general, a really funny guy. Who's really good at field searching and setting up our searches. We had a homicide detective here from National City. Who's really good at interpreting. And I was the physician, and we had some other folks. There are some rules of engagement with this brief. I can't tell you the name of the person you're searching for. And the reason for that is it's kind of private until it actually remains identified. And we don't. But until that time, it's just that no information. And the other thing is I can't give identifying dates. So I'll show you some parts of maps and things of that nature. Nothing to identify where it is, because there are folks that are less noble, shall I say, the project want to go find things that are wreck, sell them flat. So, next slide. So I want to tell you a little bit about Palau. So it's like to see that video that Amy Stewart showed. Palau is one of the most amazing places on earth. I'm glad the Stewarts are here. Has anybody else been to Palau? It's just the most beautiful place, in my opinion, the most beautiful place on earth. You can see these islands here. These are the 70 islands, the rock islands of Palau. It's probably the most iconic image that you see of it. So, but not only underwater, above water, it's also just this beautiful jungle, flowery jungle area, very dense. The mangroves, as we'll see. And it also had one of the most one of the most bloody battles of World War II occurred in the islands of Palau at Pelo, which is an island near where we were. It's been colonized by a number of different countries. The Spanish had control of the Palau Islands until 1899. Germany had it until 1914. The Japanese actually took control of Palau and used it as a launching point to attack the Philippines to protect their own country. It's now independent after the war. And it's about 6,000 miles, I should say, from San Diego, very far from. So this doesn't project very well. I want to talk about the terrain and how dense it was. This is a drone. This is from a drone video here in the upper right-hand corner. In the foreground is the mangrove forest where we're searching. If you don't get the idea of how dense it was, trust me, this stuff is, you'll see, I have some pictures coming up how dense it was. In the background area, you see a peninsula, sort of a raised darker green area, which where the Japanese were located. They have a lighthouse, the top upper right-hand corner there that you can see actually, and this is surveillance video from 1944 from the Marine Corps Avenger that was flying over this area. So you see where this lighthouse was before we bombed it. And then there was a pier that we used to also help us do our grid searching. So it doesn't really project very well, but you can see it on the ground. You can actually see it in this upper image as well. So we had the remains of the lighthouse, we had the pier, and we also had some naval guns that were above the lighthouse, which is where our APM was likely strafed by AAA and shot down. Next slide, please. So I included this slide. This is sort of a schematic. The green flowery stuff is all mangroves. That you can see in the right. The peninsula is sort of a north-south facing red area. You can see dots there. The colors that you see that don't project very well, this is GPS coordinates of everything that we searched to a point. This is about midway or 2/3 of the way through our mission. You can see where we searched. So every place you see a pink or a purple dot is a place where we actually walked and did surveillance. You can see where the lighthouse was. You can see where the pier lines up. The other thing I wanted to point out on this image is some yellow dots. So where the yellow dots are oriented in a northwest sort of fashion is where the debris of the plane was. So this has been identified either at previous surveillance or during the time. Kind of see our thought process was that the aviator had flown in from southeast to the northwest, was shot down by the naval guns or AAA near the naval guns, and there was an impact site where the yellow dots were focusing search. So you really have to discuss the mangroves. The mangroves were very dense, forgiving. That's being very kind. This picture here on the right that you might be able to see some red. That's me. Somebody took a picture of me. I was very frustrated at that point. Trying to get through these mangroves is extremely difficult. You get stuck. Your backpack gets stuck. Your backpack gets stuck. You get stuck. It might take about 10 minutes to go 10 meters. I called it Devil's Twister, sort of all over the place trying to get out of there. And our strategy was to line up about 10 meters to each side of another individual. We'd go in parties of 4 to 5. And then we would do a surveillance, like a search and rescue surveillance. One back where we all had compasses and stay on our coordinates. Do the search through these mangroves. Very intense, as I mentioned. It wasn't for the faint of heart. We had basically belly on our bellies, critters all over the place, salamanders, spiders, snakes, and there were crocodiles out there. We didn't see them, but at one point we smelled them. So yeah, it was actually a pretty rugged day out mangroves. You can see at the end of the day, we looked like we were very exhausted after doing about 4 or 5 hours of searching, and very muddy as well. In the upper right hand corner, those were my boots on day 2. They basically just exploded. Mangroves got it. Next slide. The hazards were not insignificant. I was in a position where I had to be mindful of this. Heat exhaustion was our number one concern. But you can imagine it's 90 degrees out there, 100% humidity, no breeze in the mangroves. You're out there for 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours sometimes. And it was real. We knew it was coming. We would rehydrate ourselves, all day, hydrate ourselves starting the day before. And even with that, we had one individual on day 2 who I was cutting through the mangroves with. Said, I feel nauseated. And then by the time I got to him, in about 30 seconds, I could see his eyeballs going to the back of his head. He passed out. And then trying to get him through the mangrove forest was very difficult. I failed to mention on the previous slide, one of the things that we spent for the first 2 or 3 days is cutting egress and egress pathways through the mangroves using these loppers and electric. So we would cut essentially pathways east, west, north, south. And that's what we were doing with this individual passed out. One of the hazards that I worried about was something off the finger line, because these things are very go right through the finger because it goes really too much against the mangrove. Fortunately, that didn't. Other hazards were tropical disease oriented. We didn't have malaria there, which was fortunate. We did have dengue fever. That was fortunately nobody had. We used lots of teeth. There's this thing called poison tree in the lower right hand corner. You see poison tree, which is sort of like the most wicked form of poison ivy that you can get. And it was very hard. It seemed like poison tree was every couple of feet. You see poison tree after a while, you just sort of realize you're exposed to it. So at the end of the day, we would just wash ourselves in the shower, rinse 2 or 3 times to make sure the sap would not cause a dermatologic reaction. There were snakes, fire ants, spiders, other creepy crawlies in the top right hand corner. This is a fire ant. Got to one of them. Can't see this spider in the lower left hand corner, but I'll describe it. The body was about the size of my fist. The legs were bigger than my palm. This hit one of them right in the face. So they didn't bite, but they certainly scared me. There were crocodiles out there. We knew about them. They get over 12, 15 feet long. Some of them. I've actually seen them on a previous visit to. Actually, my family swam with them. We stayed several hundred meters away from them. But in the mangroves, if you get face to face with one, obviously, it's going to lose that battle. But, we did not see it. We smelled one. So we also had one person who had an asthma-like attack. And another person sprayed eyes, which is very. I recommend that at all. Thanks. Oh, there's a snake too. I'm sorry, I can go back right. Forgot to mention this. So we saw at least 4 different kinds of snakes. This one's definitely poisonous. They had coral snakes, they had crates, sea crates. I nearly stepped on this one and fortunately pulled back in just in time and then took a picture. Next slide. Before we had permission to search in the jungle, we had to go to the Historic Preservation Office allowed to get permission. So we had a couple of days to do certain things. One of the things we did was look at the Japanese guns that were over, that I mentioned before, were at a higher altitude than the lighthouse. These were amazing. Like, I would guess 8-inch guns, which are bigger than what we have in our navy right now, but very commonly seen in the World War II era. Somehow the Japanese got on top of the mountain, got several guns up there that were very well preserved. In the lower left-hand corner, you could actually see that the gun had this design on its barrel. I haven't been able to translate that. It's amazing how well preserved these guns are. And also they had a AAA battalion that was stationed on this promontory that overlooked essentially one of the Northwest passages. So any U.S. naval ships that would have gone to go to Peleliu, for example, had to go through that area. Japanese. Again, we did search the lighthouses before we started our formal searching mangroves. We searched the lighthouse. I showed the picture earlier on. I figured it was at least 80 feet tall based on what I can tell. So 3 stories. There were about 1.5 stories left after we bombed it. Definitely visible damage. We dropped many bombs. We actually found ordnance on the site, some that had exploded. 100-pound bombs or larger. You could definitely see pock marks in the see CAT scan and here in the lower left shows pock marks from the 20mm caliber machine guns from planes and streets. They did a good job with all of them. There are also lots of bats. They weren't there. They didn't attack us. I was walking in and this one flew right over my head, lower right. So there was an impact site I pointed out earlier on, a northwesterly facing debris field. And we went to visit the debris field to sort of get a familiarization of what it would look like if we found similar debris. So if this doesn't project well, I will describe it. So on the upper left, you'll see lots of sheet metal for the wing, for the fuselage. What happened with that is the ground and the mangroves were lucky to see it at your eye level or above your eye level. It was heavier than that and stayed in the dirt itself. So the pictures on the top, in the middle and right show parts of the engine, which is stuck. We found definitely some plates with serial numbers positively identified as RKK. The question is, where was the cockpit? That's the big question. That's what we expected to find. And so I say this is what we believe to be the impact site. The farther we went into the search, the more we realized that there's probably more than one site where the debris was. So this is probably what we surmised. Japanese AAA shot down the plane. The underbelly of the plane landed in this impact site. Perhaps, or probably, the cockpit continued northern or northwesterly direction with the momentum. He started out at 7,000 feet. He was diving at 45 shot down. And so we thought that perhaps the cockpit continued to fly in northerly direction. It wasn't part of the event. So these guys have done multiple searches and they expected to see the cockpit somewhere near this debris field. So our daily battle rhythm started every morning. You can see in the lower right hand corner after breakfast, we would meet, we would look at our GPS coordinates where we had searched the previous day and we had searched up to that point, discussed various hypotheses like this cockpit hypothesis that I just told you about. And we would set up, our archaeologist ran that meeting, she would set up our search pattern for that day. So once we had our plan down, we would drive to the big island of Babbledog where we were, or the downtown area. That would take about 45 minutes just to join us. Once we got to the site where we would park our vehicles, we would walk to the base of the mangroves through this old Japanese road. The remains of that road were still there. Kind of see what it looked like. Upper left hand, this is us coming back, actually, take about 30 minutes to get there and about 45 minutes to get back. See, going into the jungle. Once we got to the jungle, we then started our surveillance. Take about 6 hours, depended on the tides. Tides were they would get very high up to the first day we were there. We had tides. And we would truncate our search distances. So we got kind of see how muddy you get. It's up the top right corner, just filthy. Not only did you have the poison from the sap, you had mud everywhere. Take a good 30 minutes to get scrubbed out. We finally found plane parts after about 3 or 4 days. This does not project well at all, but where the white arrow is, trust me on this, was a piston. That we found 19 pistons. So it's very difficult even for me to see this in a photo on my computer. So you can imagine you're 10 meters away from your partner. And she's Hannah, who's our forensic anthropologist. She found it. I could probably see it. It took us about 10 minutes to get to her point from our point. Mangroves. Found it. We picked it up. It was amazing. It still had exhaust manifolds. Back where we found it, took multiple pictures. Very exciting. So we continued searching for several more days after that and found a couple of these link parts. We weren't making headway. This is how to put it. So Dr. Stannon, our leader, had an idea, and he'd gotten a lot of information from previous missions just on interviews, where eyewitnesses and hunters. In this case, this gentleman named Lazarus was a dove hunter in many places in Cloud. So he interviewed the translator and found out that Lazarus had indeed said that he had seen the cockpit of and the engine that we were looking for was the beast. He actually drew this spiral notebook, corroborated that everything we thought we were seeing and had understand it. Felt that this is a very reliable report. So as they were leaving this interview, Rainbow showed up, the terminus of the rainbow, right at the peninsula where we would be searching. So we found this, we thought this was a good home. So we changed our strategies. So we vectored to the east side of that peninsula that I pointed out, which is where Lazarus had seen it. So if you go with that hypothesis, the cockpit would have vectored over sort of to the east northeast part of the peninsula, which we hadn't really considered. A whole lot of sense to us. We got there, and it was a completely different topography than we were used to. It wasn't very mangrove-like. It was more dense, swampy jungle. And this picture on the right, somebody took it and says, honey, I shrunk the project for cover because we were in this called Jurassic salad. It was 10 feet tall. Couldn't really see much of anything in there when you weren't waist deep in the swamp. It was really tough searching. We did find a part that we thought was part of the plane. One of our members is actually a Corsair expert. But he wasn't able to come, so we actually had a video link with him asking if this was actually part of the plane. So to get this, which was not sure. Next slide, please. So I mentioned Flip Palmer in one of the earliest slides. He was one of the founders of Project Forever. Probably I would say the soul. Pat was the heart of Project Forever. Flip was the soul. He was an F-18 pilot and then Pacific Airlines. Died in 2019 in airline aviation accident, I should say. And his wife wanted to put spread his ashes throughout Cloud. But because of COVID, was unable to get out there. So she joined us finally in this mission. Rebecca joined us. You see her in the lower left hand. This is on my own control. So we took his ashes, took him to the B-24 wing, which started on Project Recover, then called that Rock. We spread some of his ashes. And then we went to Callaway to a very special site. Spread the ashes. Right at about the halfway So we went back after we were sort of frustrated by not finding the plane that Lazarus had drawn for us. So we did a pretty reasonable job searching inside and found some stuff, but again, on the big pieces that Lazarus was very adamant about. So we returned to the west side, wanted to knock out this side to finish off what we did. So you can see how much ground we covered. And it's hard to imagine, but I can tell you we covered 36 acres of mangroves. And as our Italian brigadier general reminded us, that's about 33% of that is from Rome. And I was like, okay, that's a lot of area. It was a lot of area. So we found more clues during this time. We actually interviewed some more people. They swore that they corroborated what Lazarus had to say in so many words, but we were unable to convince them to come out with us to help us. You know, where did you go, Dublin? Where did you see this? It was very frustrating to not be able to do. So this was our final week there, and the next. So one of our members at the end of each day would say, well, we made the mangroves smaller today, just what we did. We 36 acres, we definitely made it small. We made it some incredible things along the way. We didn't find the copy. You have to realize this is an iterative process. I mean, Pat Skipping's been doing this for 30 years. He never got a bullseye on his first, second, third mission, two missions. To find the folks from that Rotary 24 and over, over 10 years to find the remains for that particular. That's site. So you can imagine this is a lot of hard work, and we are very satisfied that we had done our best to make the mangrove small this time. I go back. I just want to cover a couple of these pictures before I finish. As we were waiting for our certificate to search, we did some cultural tours. So toured one of the cultural these are the prizes for sort of this thing in the lower left hand corner that I'm carrying, that's actually happened here. This is the guy that I took out of the jungle. I did it twice actually. So he actually had to go home. He was extremely the care that I rendered to him. He made this very special thing. This is called the story with the mercy. See it. There's a course there. I did pick this up on the last day. It's been very special. And that's one of our members getting his official point for his first mission. He got his project covered. There's Hannah with the bat on. And then I just love his picture of Dr. Skin. You can tell how much joy he gets out of doing his searches. We don't explore inside. It's so much joy, camaraderie, sludge every day. Again, I can't wait to and that after that warm introduction, I will take.
Well, who funds this mission
Thanks for asking.
and where do you sleep and what do you eat?
Okay, so the original funding, really quickly, was all done by our own membership. So Dr. Stan, everybody who went on a mission was paying for it on themselves. We are now linked up with, on occasion, not for every mission, DPAA, which is the Defense POW MIA Agency, which actually is funded by Congress. So we were able to do 4 missions. Had scan it's leaving in a couple of weeks to a different site. So we've gone to Guajimala in September. We slept in a hotel in Google as part of our team. But the needs we have a lot of sushi. Yeah, it's great.
I'd like to thank you very much because my father was lost. Submarine was lost or 2 in the South China Sea. And I think it is a very much of an unclosed story. This family for generations And I think that right now in the news, the Chinese are going into that area and looking for metal from the ships that were sunk. And it would really mean so much families. If there's some way to try to find the location. But I don't.
So two things. One is that's called generation three. It's an actual word. It's palpable. The other thing is if you go to Project Recover's website, you can actually inform somebody. There's a way to ask. I don't know where Lily is, whoever it happens to be. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post last week, heavy weight wreck, which we covered off at the beginning of 11 MIAs. That was all started by somebody. Project Recover several years ago.
Now, if you have any questions. So thank you, Tim, so much for this. So next week, we're at the Dell, and the speaker for next week is Alex Montoya. He's a triplegic, and when we were at the Rotary International Convention in Houston last year, he spoke to the convention for like 20-some thousand people. He's a motivational speaker. He's amazing. And when we heard that he was from San Diego, we found him in the hallway and tracked him down and asked if he would come and speak. And we finally got him for next week. And then we also have our assistant city manager coming to just give us an update on what he is involved in. So anyone, everybody, thank you. Tim, thank you. That was amazing. Go out and have a great Rotary week.